Satin, lead singer and saxophonist for VieTNam.
And let's talk about your saxophone first, since you have it in your hand.
This is a student model, but it's actually an exceptional saxophone. It's a Yamaha YAS-23. And I bought it for my son for school, and I have some old saxophones that are about 70 years old, and this one plays so nicely. I appropriated it from him, and he quit the band in school. So
now, did he quit before or after you took the saxophone away?
I think it happened about the same time. This is an outstanding saxophone. It's not really a stripped down model. It's a student, but it plays fantastic. If I had the money, I would get a Yamaha Professional. I think it's a YAP saxophone.
How much does this one cost?
This is very affordable. I think I got this one for like $275, something like that.
What would the Professional cost?
Oh, the Professional would be over $1,000, probably $1,200.
But this one plays, and also, we were talking about the tertiary guitars. We were talking about you have that. This one, you know, it gets smashed or somebody steps on it.
You're not right.
Yeah, you're not out like a grain.
I'm pretty bad on these saxophones too. I scratch up the bell a lot, hitting the mics and stuff. But I play the old-fashioned way through a mic. My sax mic. I have a vintage AKG D1000E. It's about a 1963. Sounds fantastic on a saxophone. I put this on it to keep from scratching the bell of my sax so much. One day I'm going to probably...
Is that what that mic is used for? What is it?
It's primarily... It was actually used for recording classical back in the 60s. That's how I got it, from someone who recorded classical live in New York. But it sounds fantastic on a saxophone. One of these days I'd like to get a nice wireless system for my sax.
I've seen some of the Shure ones. I know there's some people that told me about them, but my brain is not going to remember what.
Yeah, I believe the Shure makes a really good one. I used to have a wireless system back in the early '80s, but it didn't work very well because I was early in the technology. Yeah, and it didn't work very well. But one of these days I'm going to get one of those because I get tangled up a lot of times in the cables, and it would be nice to be free from all that.
Stan used to have a saxophone synthesizer.
Yeah, actually, I still have it.
I bet that was in the early '80s too.
Well, that's actually older. That's actually older. It was old when I got it.
Play with the keys?
No, it's a little unit that stands. It's like a little suitcase that has a rack that comes up out of it and swivels. I think it's from like 1967. It's very antique saxophone synthesizer. It worked somehow where the vibrations of the saxophone, you actually had a pickup with a hole drilled in your mouthpiece, and it had settings similar to an organ, like an old Vox organ.
Yeah.
And the sounds were pretty quirky. They were clavinet sounds and lots of real clunky kind of late 60s organ sounds, but you could play it with a saxophone. It was very odd. I still have it, and it doesn't work anymore. One of these days I might get it conditioned, and it's definitely a conversation piece, to say the least.
I thought you were talking about, because I'm thinking in the '80s they had these things that were like that old Casio button guitar thing, the Casio guitar synthesizer. They made one for woodwinds.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And they were They were brutal. Yeah.
Right. Well, they do have a saxophone. A MIDI, which Yamaha makes one, I believe, and also Akai. I'd love to have one of those actually, because you can play any sound, in a tone generator with it, and supposedly the technology is such now where you can really get the vibrato and a lot of the odd things of the saxophone are translated into the MIDI. So one of these days I would like one of those too as well.